So today I was out walking and I was just trying to clear my head talking to God. I'm not trying to be a Bible thumper, but this, if you don't like it, I'm sorry, but I hope that you track with me and just listen for a moment because I was called to share this message. So I just simply was walking around the block. I was having a little bit of anxiety in my space, and again, trying to just release some emotion and to be frank, probably like just avoiding some adulting kind of things. Like I had a lot to do in my house. I had a lot on my brain about finances or the future or my children. Even sometimes like music can be like overwhelming because it will trigger a memory or something. But again, those are your thoughts are not really your thoughts. They're really sent in. Excuse me, it was a little bit late at night, but and I was woken up by bad dreams. But that's another story. Um, so I'm walking just around the block and just letting go of the anxiety, enjoying the sunshine, and ref- refusing to let my emotions consume me. Right, just breathing, walking, looking around. So as I get around the block, I had sunglasses on, mind you, so my eyes were covered. But I see up ahead because I'm always mindful to be aware of my surroundings. Excuse me. And I see a couple houses ahead of me, a woman like kind of lurking in the corner of a driveway, and she's watching me. I see her. She had on clear glasses. Mine were dark glasses. And again, I'm one of these people. I'm always looking at the sky, looking at the trees, the animals, the cars that pass by, the houses and yards, and waving to the kids or the neighbors. Excuse me again, sorry. Oh, goodness. Anywho, so I'm watching this woman, and she's watching. She doesn't see me that I'm watching her, but she's clearly intently staring at me. So as I get a little bit closer, almost to the house, I hear her just say suddenly, "No, don't." So she didn't say it firmly. She didn't say it loudly. But and right before this, I'd seen her open like a fence, like she was going to go into a gate or a fence. And I'm, again, not thinking nothing of it, but I'm watching. Excuse me. It's really hot in here, so I just also learned that yawning is not just a sign of tired. It cools your brain down. A little science fact for you, but anyway, back to the topic. So I get to the driveway where the woman is in and past the vehicle that was parked in the driveway. And I all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I see this large flash, and this massive dog comes darting towards me, okay, like huge, like the size of a pony, like a mini horse. He's massive, right? And he comes up and he just like sits at my feet, and I'm like, oh, hello. And again, something made me like a little unnerved and cautious. Mind you, I'd already previously had anxiety before I was there, so I wasn't sure. Now normally I'm very sure and friendly with animals, but something about this situation had me a little bit step back and a little bit like on edge. So the woman yelled, "Grab him!" Well, I was going to already probably pet him, because again, the dog sat right at my feet and seemed like wanted to say hello. And he went to sniff me, like my hand. And so I go to grab the collar, and all of a sudden this dog goes, like vicious snarl, attack mode. And I feel him, literally, his mouth is on my arm. But in no way did his teeth ever press into me or press down firmly, but which was not adding up to the sound coming out of his body or the look in his eyes. So it was a little bit like interesting, okay? Now, mind you, I was like, oh, sorry. I said sorry, like to the woman, because I don't know. I'm a sorry girl. I always say sorry, like I did something wrong. I'm like me. because again, you shouldn't just grab strange animals or anything like this, but I was still processing, like it had been slowed down in slow motion almost, as I'm trying to take all this in, where she goes to come forward. Excuse me. Feels like somebody's trying to stop this message from coming out. So the woman calls for the dog. She's like, "Get over here," in this crazy, firm, mean voice. And I'm telling her, "Oh, I'm sorry." And she's like, "No, that's," and she stopped talking, like, and I felt like she was going to say, like, "No, that's exactly what I wanted," or something, but she didn't finish. And the dog had, like, at this point, run off. Like, he was trying to get away from the woman almost, which, again, dogs do. They're like, "I'm free, I'm free, I'm free." But, again, I'm still processing, and I'm still feeling unnerved. Not exactly even sure. Just something triggered, too, about this woman. Like, my spirit knew who she was somehow, and that whatever she was doing was, like, a bad thing, clearly. And I'm still trying to process this. And I'm like, okay, well, she's like, something, and again, she's very, very firm with the dog, and the dog sat down, like, when she got firmer. And again, maybe because I was so gentle, and she's like, something about a man. And I was like in my head thinking, oh, maybe I should have used like a man voice or grabbed, but it didn't feel right. Whatever she was saying, or had transpired, like it still wasn't computing. You know what I'm saying? I hope you're tracking with me. But anyways, so as I am walking away, I'm like, okay, have a good day. You know, sorry again. And she just doesn't say anything else. But as I go about my day, I later was telling a friend about this story too, because even as I walked away, I was thanking God, like, thank God, I know that you protected me there. Like, I know that that was something that was supposed to hurt me, but you stepped in. I know that, like, that was all you, and the reason, again, I could tell even, and sounds crazy, but the eyes of the dog, despite the snarl and the attempted bite, you could tell the dog did not want to bite me. It was not. But either way, at the time too, I felt like almost like, you know how like when they're training dogs and they have like armor on their arm or a glove or cushion pillow, like I felt like my arm was covered. So like even though the teeth had touched me, like I felt like the dog, it was like hovered almost, like that there was like a steel bracelet or the armor of God literally prevented anything from actually like touching me. And so as later on, I'm like also telling the story to like a friend about how this situation had happened, and then, but I still hadn't like processed it fully, okay? So then I'd go home and like the rest of the day goes on. I go to sleep, and to fall asleep, lately too, I've just only played the Book of Psalms, like, again, because it's a bunch of prayers and songs that are protection, divine protection, they're literally, and I've slept easier and more peaceful when I do this. So, but I woke up from like a weird dream, and you should always pay attention to your dreams, because again, whether it's a natural dream, I've been talking a lot about spell work, or now even I forgot to include some of these things that music and movies and emotions can be used against you for like demonic entities, or even it can be hypnotizing. It can be literally, they can, especially with the world of technology, they can embed code underneath a visual or an audio that will hypnotize you without you realizing, or consent. So also to be mindful of the gifts you accept, because when I came home from this walk in this weird situation, there was like a bag, not just one bag, but like four bags, and then a fifth bag that had multiple brown paper bags in them. they're all like gift bags, right? And they're all full of clothing, like clothing. Just the clothing fairy had dropped off all this clothing, and now I had been mindful too because God warned me, and my spiritual team has warned me, be careful of the food or gifts that you accept from people, even from children, because again, it can seem like a good thing, but it can have bad juju, voodoo, spell work, poison, ill intent, and even entities can be attached to these things. So anyways, so I'm like leery because I'm like, Now mind you too, everything in the bags. Now mind you, I'm okay. I don't know if you can see, and I'm not like body shaming anybody or anything like that. But I'm just saying, like I'm a particular size. All the clothing in the bags were like 1X, super large, which again fine, but they were all brand new. Excuse me. And I have a neighbor who has a family member who owned a store that went out of business. So I assumed that the clothing fairy or the gift bag fairy was probably from my neighbor whose family member's store went out of business. But usually she's really spot on about giving me, and again, this is when I used to take stuff freely and like, because again, I'm like a connoisseur of collectors and I'm like hella helpful. So even if it's the wrong size or the wrong something, I will collect it because I know people who need things. So and I'm like, even though I'm so young, I'm like a Great Depression baby, okay? Like everything has value to me. So I don't like to throw things away. So I always try to hold them or find them homes and save them from garbage dump or from just being, discarded in general. Because also too with like old things, I love to keep the history. But back to my point. So I go to sleep. Now mind you too, there was several things that was in the bags that I decided to keep for myself. Even though something inside of me had alarm bells, like don't keep this stuff, don't keep this stuff, don't keep this stuff, don't bring it in your house. I left it outside for a while, but then I don't know, something got the better of me. Excuse me while I fidget and play with my hair. Anyways, so I brought it inside, and then I realized, oh my goodness, I have a neighbor who is beautiful and pregnant, and she has just gained like lots of weight, and her belly's getting bigger. So I'm like, this stuff is perfect for her. Let me bag it back, go through it, and see what's in there. And then, because culturally too, I wanted to make sure the stuff was appropriate because she doesn't wear particular things because of her religion and culture. So I'm like, let me go through it, and all the stuff seems to be great, but there's like 1 or 2 or 3 things in there that was like appropriate and applicable for me to keep. So even though something in me still was like, don't keep it, the stuff wouldn't have fit her anyway. So I put it to the side and leave it in my house, which I knew I should have known better. But anyway, different story. So I go and I gift the stuff to the woman. Everything's fine. The day goes by, my friend comes over and tells my friend and her kids about the story about the dog. But at that time too, even though I told the kids, I was like, God totally protected me. And they were telling me like, oh, we just stopped by because now the same friend that I had given the clothes to, she had like a little kid, and this was like I don't even know if this is a relevant part of the story, but her little girl had kept showing up with no pants on today and no panties or anything. So, and again, because she kept getting them dirty, wet, whatever. So I had the mom like washes stuff by hand. They don't have a washer and dryer. They don't have money, so I tend to do laundry for them and stuff. So the kids had come over to get the stuff because a friend of theirs had just had a baby. They were going to go to the hospital, so they needed the clothing out of the dryer like right now. So I was in the back in my basement getting the stuff out of the dryer, blah blah blah. And I come out and my friend and her kids are there. And I say goodbye to the little kid that came to get the stuff, and they're like, we saw your door open, so we had to stop. We just came, blah, blah, blah. So I'm telling the kids, like, God protected me. It was a weird day, for surely. I go to sleep later that night, because by this time it's like 10 o'clock at night, whatever. And I put on my psalm, go to lay down, and I wake up by a disturbing dream. Like, and again, it was one of those dreams where, you know, where you go to sleep and you wake up from a dream, but when you go back to sleep, you're still in the same dream. And so after like the second or third time of this thing, which again, even as I'm waking up and going back to sleep and being in the same dream, even in the dream I was upset, okay, like by whatever was happening. And I'll spare you the dream, but just know that in the dream I was being protected, and that's why I kept being woken up, because God was waking me up, because they were trying to use this dream to corrupt or bind me. But I'll spare you that story for another day, because I want to be on point with the rest of this message, so of what's really important, which I guess it kind of is, but I'll spare you the details of the dream. Okay? So again, I'm like, I just wanted to go to sleep. I was tired. It's hot. Blah blah blah. And something is like, spiritual warfare can be like exhausting. And again, even your love for the Lord, sometimes you just need to rest and just even have entertainment. So I'm like, so now this is the third time I've been woken up. So I'm like, maybe I'll just find a movie or like a silly cartoon or something to watch, something like light and whatever. And something somehow calls me to this and again, I type in like free movies on YouTube, and I'm going through and I'm seeing all these silly, like entertaining, like movies that should have been like what I was going for, but instead I see the Book of Daniel, full Bible story, and I'm like, ooh, I need to watch this. And so I'm watching, and as I'm watching, I can't even really like watch it, because it's like camera 1, camera 2, and as I'm watching the movie over here, I'm also like flashbacking to different parts of my life over the past few years, or even recently, especially the past year, and I'm like, it is so applicable. And again, I have noticed more than ever in my walk with the Lord that He definitely has gotten me out of some amazingly crazy things. I'm talking like amazingly crazy. And so in the story too, it starts off explaining how they were captured and taken to another country, their foreign language, there's a situation where they're being forced to not eat, basically, too, because again, the food is unclean. It goes against their God, it goes against their religion, and even though they're studying the ways of these people, they were called to this by the prophet Jeremiah. Had told them, like, you will be held captive in this land for 70 years as a punishment for your sins, even though they weren't their sins, they were their people's sins and their forefathers. So again, they refuse the food, but they're like, just give us vegetables and water, and then compare us in 10 days to your other servants who are eating this pork and this, who's given like the entrails and ground up flesh of their war captives or whatever. It's supposed to be a delicacy and whatever, and wine. That's what they were offered, this prime pig that's fed this disgusting fleshly stuff of the war captives or whatever, because again, I'm not a military, I forget the wording, but anywho, so they refuse. They're like, just give us vegetables and water and see how we sustain us, because the guy who was like addressed to take care of them was like, if you don't eat and you start withering away, that's my head. And the guys are like, no, we don't want that, but just like give us 10 days and we'll show you that the vegetables and the water and our God is going to sustain us better than what you are offering with the wine and the unclean meat. So they do this, and of course God sustained them. They're healthier and thriving better than the people that were eating the other stuff, so they allowed them to continue eating this. Now at the meal too, the brothers are like, we need to make a promise because now they're being forced to dress like these people. They're forced to talk like them, learn like them, and they're like, we need to say this promise that we're just going to always stay the same. And the oldest brother, Belshazzar, God forgive me if I'm saying it wrong, tells them, like, brothers, calm it down. We're human. This is an impossible promise. But what we can do is to promise that we will always love our God and live as He wants us to live. And so they make this promise. And then they're trained. They have to go from the king. And there's all this cool stuff about the book of Daniel. You should look into it. And I know that there's also a part where, of course, Daniel interprets the dream for the king. And again, you should look into that because they were almost killed, but they were able to tell the king what the dream meant and spare their lives. And then we're given the ruler over this little providence, which again, the God had told them through the prophet Jeremiah that to build houses, to have sons and daughters, because if this city there that they were in thrived, then so would they. So again, they stayed faithful and trusting and walked with God and prayed and lived righteously through serving the king, but most importantly, serving their God. And when they were tested, too, there was a point where the king was like, will you tell me the truth, even if it's tough? And he's like, I don't know any other way, but don't ask me shit unless you want to hear the answer. So fast forward, he tells them the dream. It's like the head of gold, the body is silver, then the legs are bronze, and the feet are iron and clay. And so it's supposed to be like these 4 kingdoms and 4 generations of what's happening, and that this king is the gold one. The next one is not going to be as great. He's going to be lesser, and then so on and so forth. So like in the dream too, there was a rock that was thrown at the statue, and the rock shattered the whole thing, but the rock then became a mountain that took over the world, which is a beautiful metaphor and example of what would happen. These kingdoms would fall, but God's kingdom would become a mountain that would be indestructible and go on forever. So again, they were approved. So fast forward to the king then builds, because now he's like, I'm the gold head. I'm the gold one. I'm the man, bro. So he builds a statue of pure gold, like 90 flipping feet high. And everybody's forced to, like, at a certain time, when the bell rings, they're supposed to bow down to this statue. So because the wise men that originally couldn't tell the king what his dream was, where everybody was, like, jealous that they did what they did and that they were allowed to kind of have this freedom and put above them. So they would instantly notice that, oh, these guys ain't bowing down to the statue. So they run like, king, everybody's supposed to bow down, but these guys are not bowing down. So the king's like, you're supposed to bow down. And he's like, sorry, king, but we won't do it. And he's like, well, then I'm throwing you to the furnace. So, and if anybody knows the story about Meshach and Belshazzar and his brothers, God throws them to, now mind you, so I said Daniel, because again, they changed their names so to fit the culture of where this foreign land was. So that's where Daniel became Daniel. So they're thrown to the furnace. And because he's like, well, God won't even save you from the furnace. And they're like, our God will save us from the furnace. But even if he didn't, we will never worship your gods, and we will never bow down to your statue, which pisses the king off. Even though, mind you, there had been a situation when he's asked him, like, will you tell me the truth? He's like, bro, if you don't want to hear what I have to say, then don't ask me, because I will only tell you the truth, and no matter what. But this king forgot. So he's like, okay, turn the furnace on and then turn it up 7-fold, because we're going to burn these people because they think they can talk to me like this. I'm the gold king. So anyway, long story short, they get thrown in the furnace. When they're walking through, they're in the furnace. Obviously, the flames didn't touch them because God did protect them. And the guards that threw them in there saw, actually, because there's 4 brothers, but when they maybe there's 3 brothers. I don't know. Forgive me, it's late. But so no, I think there's 3 brothers. Yeah, 3 brothers. So, but when the guards looked in, they saw a 4th person walking around the furnace. They're all just walking around, but not the flames never touched them. But when the guards even got close to look at it, the guards were cooked and died. So the point of this whole thing is, again, to glory to God, because I know that He protected me from that dog. But it also reminded me that throughout the year that I've struggled with finances or spiritual attacks, or even cutting out drugs or toxic friends and family relationships, and things with my finances, or my home being burglarized, or even being poisoned or raped or robbed or dead, literally dead. God brought me through all of it, every time. And I don't know if you could see, and I'm not trying to be arrogant or anything, but I am literally like in the best shape of my life, inside and outside, like a whole glow up. And again, even on days where I felt like, oh my God, and again, my bitch, excuse my language, was hungry. There was days where I was like, God, and too, of the book of Psalms, a lot of it is like prayers and chants that is like, woe is me, God, I am doing my work, I am walking with you, when are you going to come through for me? What have I done to make you allow this wickedness to continue? These people are hurting me and hating me, and I am still being loyal to you, and I'm still trusting you, God. Please come and help me. Please come and help me. And so many times throughout the past couple of years, I've been like in the same place throughout the days and nights. And even, like when I was trying to explain to somebody, because there was a lot of people who were clowning me because I'm alone. But there's a difference between alone and lonely. And again, I'm never alone, because I walk with God. I walk with Jesus. So I can't be lame and I can't be alone. And again, even through these things, buried alive, poisoned, raped, robbed, dead, attacked by dogs, attacked by spell work, attacked by everybody, just like Daniel and his brothers, God has brought me through it unscathed, untouched, and I just felt really called to share this message. So I just want to say I love you all with the love of Christ. I hope this message helps somebody, because even when you think that you're not, because even your energy, where there's days you physically don't want to get out of bed, there's days where you don't, because even some days I'm like, oh, I want a soda or a coffee, or I can't do this because I just can't, never could, right? And so I just turn to the Bible. I turn to God. I say, God, give me the strength. Let me, what is my purpose? What is your plan for me? And He will tell you. He will literally tell you. And even if people think you're crazy, people think you're weird, go inward. Be okay to feel these feelings, to know these truths. Now, there's people, everybody's aware of what's going on or what's been going on, but so is God, most importantly. And I just wanted to share this with you so that you can know that no matter what you're going through, no matter how hopeless it seems or what you think you're lacking, if you expect nothing and appreciate everything, and just literally let your spirit be fed, you will survive. Not just survive, you will thrive. God will reward you and bring you out of the flames. They can't touch you. So good night.